Hello and welcome to Banana Island Living podcast. This is our very first one, so forgive us for any sort of niggles we might have, but I've got an exciting and really, really bright person on today to talk about the topic of the moment, the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency ban. But first things first, before you do anything else, go and subscribe. Wherever you get your podcast from, subscribe to Banana Island Living podcast. My name is Sade, and I'm very pleased to introduce Dr. Iyabo Masha. Hello.
Thank you very much for the warm introductions, and I'm happy to be here and talk to you all.
Well, I'm so excited. I can't big this lady up, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit of what she does and what she's been doing. Now, Dr. Iyabo Masha is a global economist and a member of the Nigerian Presidential Economic Advisory Council. Now, you've been on the staff of the IMF in Washington for over 17 years, and you were the immediate past IMF resident representative and head of mission in Sierra Leone. How was that?
Oh, fantastic. Working in the field is really a privilege at the IMF because IMF doesn't have that many positions in the field. And it's really something that gives you a different perspective on the way that the work of multilateral organizations are done. And you have this sense that you are really adding a lot of value to the country, which is not something you really get when you are in HQ.
Well, no, because you're staying in HQ and you're telling people what to do.
Exactly.
Now, prior to that, Dr. Masha led IMF negotiating teams in a variety of African and Asian countries, helping those countries to develop economic programs and policies for macroeconomic stabilization, growth, and poverty reduction, and to access private market and development finance. You also worked in the Central Bank of Nigeria and the World Bank in Washington. You've really been at both ends, haven't you?
Yes, I guess it's all related work. A lot of the work that the IMF does revolves around financing. And there's a big chunk of the advice that is given to countries that is just central banking advice, central banking, financial sector, monetary operations. So the experience is easily transferable and it's complementary. And in any case, as an economist, the discipline, the economics discipline is one that prepares you for a wide range of work in development and finance. So I think it all comes together in my lifetime experience.
Yeah, and it's just so fascinating that you've got both sides. You come from a developing country, you've worked in their central bank, you've seen their unique challenges. Now you're on the bigger picture, and of course the government has tapped you. Hopefully the advice will be listened to. Now you've published an amazing range of academic research on macroeconomic stabilization policies, financial sector development and stability, and inclusive sustainable economic growth. I mean, we were talking just before we started the recording about a paper you did quite some time ago, 20 years ago?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it was fascinating. So we'll get to that in a minute. I'm just blown away by your CV. So I just want to read the last bit and just let people know what you've been up to. You served on the G20 2020 Development Working Group, and you were recently appointed as a member of the study group developing global framework for financing sustainable development. Now, Dr. Masha is also a panelist on the UNDP Africa Beyond COVID-19 Economic Conference. So check her out on LinkedIn. She's very low profile. She's only active, just about active on LinkedIn. You won't find her anywhere else. Whatever you do, go check her out. Your country needs you. Right. Now we're talking about crypto. Can you just tell, plebs like me who don't know too much about it? It's just been in the news quite a lot. What do we mean by cryptocurrency?
Well, cryptocurrency are currencies that are more or less virtual, if you can call it that. They are stored in distributed ledgers by counterparties that are known to each other, and where the only identity, if I will put it that way, of ownership is what I will call a password. If there's $10 million of cryptocurrency stored somewhere, anyone that has the password to access that owns that money. Okay. So there's a lot of, it's completely anonymous. And I guess that is one of the challenges of that particular currency. Now, is it a currency in the real sense of it? Well, it's a form of currency. What we know as money has some basic functions. It must be a store of value. It must be a means of exchange, and also a unit of account. Now, in some limited sense, cryptocurrencies meet these requirements, but there are really some important challenges along the way. As far as being a store of value is concerned, it's very, very volatile because it is not only used as currency, it is also an asset that is traded in the stock market.
Well, that's where we're going to get to, because I think...
So that's part of the volatility, the issue of whether it's a means of exchange. It is a means of exchange, but its use is very limited. It's a limited acceptance for payments, because it's not like I can go somewhere and pull out my naira or dollar and the other party will accept it because it's issued by a central bank. In this case, there has to be some kind of correspondence, I will say, between the two parties to make that happen. So all of those things make a cryptocurrency, yes, it's a form of money, but it's a special kind of money that is not issued by any entity or sovereign authority of a central bank.
But the concept of value that's been central to society, that's not new. I mean, credit cards, promissory notes. I mean, what is so different about this? And why is there a sort of perception that there's a threat to established system with this, particularly in relation to the nation state?
Yes, I think we should go back to the role that money plays. Money is not only a means of exchange, it is actually the major stabilizing force in the economy. And there's this saying that there's no better way to destroy a country than to debase its currency. So that being the case, any means of exchange that challenges that dominance of money is going to be something of concern to policymakers.
But you wrote a paper about this 20 years ago. Tell me about that and how you predicted this.
Okay, so 20 years ago, I did make a presentation at a payment systems conference at Cambridge University, organized by the Central Banking Publications Limited of the UK. And at that time, the banking system was beginning to adopt some technology in the payment system. So there was a lot of concern as to how it will all play out. So the purpose of the conference, which eventually got published as a book and with about 15 different presentations, the purpose of the conference was really to reassess how changes in technology in society will impact on what we know to be money and what central banks should be doing to prepare for the future of money. And the one point I made in that paper is that, and I think at that time they all were just thinking about it as e-money, that we could very much find ourselves in a position where paper currency as we know it, would be eventually replaced by some kind of electronic money that people can use electronically and they would not need to carry around.
Isn't that what we're talking about now?
Because that was a conference about the impact on central banking policy. So for us at that conference, the point is, how does it make the work of a central banker, the control over monetary policy, how does it make it easier or make it harder? Now, things have not progressed as fast as I thought, because 20 years ago, I thought by now there will be no paper money at all. But the things are moving in that direction with cryptocurrencies, and many central banks also looking into that particular direction.
Well, brings us neatly back to Nigeria. The central bank has more than looked, and it's now banned Bitcoins and cryptocurrency in Nigeria. What are your thoughts about that in the first place?
Well, there are two different things going on. One is that the central bank is concerned about the fact that there's a lot of anonymity in crypto transactions, and that could mean that a lot of illegal transactions or illicit flow of currency is going on there, or finance and currency. So that's one concern. At least that's the one they have expressed publicly. Mm-hmm. But the other issue is that, as you may know, Nigeria is the second largest market for Bitcoin in the world.
Now that blows my mind.
Yeah. So for a central bank that is interested in managing the value of its currency and also limiting how much of its reserves is lost in day-to-day transactions, then that central bank is likely to go after cryptocurrency. So that's the way I look at it. One is a valid concern about some of the possible criminal considerations, but also another concern that is coming out of its own desire to, or at least its objective, to continue to maintain the value of the naira in a particular direction. I cannot say that one is better than the other, but both have merits and demerits. Yeah.
Now, do you think the government could have achieved this without an outright ban? Is there another way of skinning this cat?
Indeed, I think that there's no ban as such, okay?
Right.
Because what the central bank is saying is that you cannot transact business in the banks with cryptocurrency. But the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria recognizes cryptocurrency as an asset class.
I didn't know that.
So as an asset, say you have X amount of cryptocurrency on the stock exchange, in the New York Stock Exchange or wherever, that does not contravene the regulations of the Securities and Exchange Commission. But when it comes to actually using your cryptocurrency to effect payment in the banking system, that's when the central bank is now saying you cannot do that. So I would not say that there's a ban on cryptocurrency. There is a ban on transactions within the banking system. Now what we're seeing is that there's an upsurge in transactions, cryptocurrency transactions, in peer-to-peer transaction, in peer-to-peer platforms, which means that the kind of transactions that would ordinarily have gone through the banking system are now diverted into some of these peer-to-peer systems and platforms.
Well, I read somewhere that we had like 600 million in transactions over the last 5 years and $4 billion of assets embedded in crypto in Nigeria. Was this really a threat to the economy, do you think?
There are two ways to look at it again. First of all, $600 million of transaction is probably
over 5 years. It's not a lot.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot for an economy that does over 60 billion worth of transactions, both in trade and in financial services in a year. But if you look at, if you factor in that Nigeria is number 2 in the world after the US. And you have countries with much better developed financial systems, higher levels of regulatory effectiveness and transparency, and they are not even anywhere near the top 10. Then you begin to wonder if really what is going on in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There must be something. Like you said, it's not really a ban. The stock exchange still recognizes it. So does this removal from the banking system, does it really remove the risk that the perceived
risk? Well, it
risk?
stops the trading for cash transactions. The risk of it being used for illicit transactions is probably higher because if you are using cryptocurrency within your account in the banking system, you have an identification, you have a BVN. So
exactly,
you are not
they
really,
can track you.
Yeah. So you are not really operating underground. But if you lose that kind of access, and you now have to go underground, look for some P2P platforms, then that could even drive more transactions to the illicit kind of channel. So that's the major danger from that policy.
Yeah. So do you think at some point, do you see any possible reversal of the ban in the works, do you think?
Well, I'm not sure if there's likely to be a specific reversal of this policy. I think a lot of the drive really is from the exchange foreign reserve management side than the concern about illicit finance, even though I've read somewhere that the FBI is concerned about illicit finance.
In Nigeria or just generally?
In Nigeria. That I think I read something to the effect that maybe $300 million worth of illicit transactions pass through cryptocurrency platforms and are destined for Nigeria. So, I don't know how far that is true, but I think that for many central banks all over the world, more than 130 central banks are in one form of analysis or the other on what they should do about digital currency. And digital currency as in, should we start our own digital currency? And what should we be mindful of?
Well, that's what I was just going to say, because I know the Brits came up with something. They were thinking of something at some point, which were jokingly called Britcoins as their own form of currency. These are central bank digital currencies. And I hear that the German banks, in alliance with the stock exchange, are considering creating their own blockchains.
Yeah.
And BNY Mellon is already leading in synergizing with digital currency platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, couldn't Nigerian banks get in on this action?
I believe that at a point in time, the central bank would either put in place its own proper digital currency, the way that many central banks are already moving towards. So only 5 countries have outright ban on crypto.
Wow.
Okay. So out of about 130 countries. And at that point, when the central banks come to some realization on the relative cost and benefit of crypto, I think crypto is going to gradually become more and more popular all over the world. In addition to being used as currency, the underlying technology is used in some countries to store very important records, land deeds, medical records, because the technology is so unique.
Yeah.
You also find out that the distributed ledger technology itself is a cheaper way of transferring money. And so it has fostered financial inclusion in many societies. Many people in the diaspora use it to transfer money to their families. I don't know how that works.
Well, I heard of the UN World Food Program using Bitcoins to boycott extraneous bank transactions.
Exactly, because it's cheaper and it brings down the cost of financial services. So it's going to expand more than it is now, but the residual concern of policymakers about money laundering, terrorism financing, illicit flow, those are the things that would need to be resolved one way or the other before it can really take off.
Because what I'm hearing in Nigeria is that this is another way the common man was trying to make money and survive, and government is blocking it like they're blocking everything else. I mean, you've talked about the legitimate concerns. From I as an ordinary person on the road, I wouldn't even know what to do about Bitcoin. So you do wonder, where is this market in Nigeria? Who are the sort of actors in this field? I mean, are they just sharp young people, or like you say, is it the underground market, or do you have any idea of who this demographic is?
Not really, but there are many companies that do some form of Bitcoin exchange or the other.
Right.
Yeah. Let me address this issue about making money.
Yeah.
Any money that is made without production is just unlikely to be durable.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
The reason why Bitcoin is popular in Nigeria is, part of the reasons is that it is also an asset, as I told you, and it's traded on the New York Stock Exchange. And in the past 9 months or so, because of the stock market performance in the US in particular, and asset price inflation, Bitcoin has increased in value considerably. And that is just in line with the growth of the stock market. But it is volatile.
Well, today it went down.
Oh, yeah. Since Monday, it has been down by, I think, 16%. The price today, as of this morning on the New York Stock Exchange, is 16% lower than it was on Monday. Gosh. So that volatility has to be factored into, I mean, if you send 10 Bitcoins to someone on Monday and you thought you were sending $100, and by the time the money gets to the person, it is now worth $84 because there's a 16% decline in value. That you will not find with paper money, okay? So this idea that I can support Bitcoin from the point of view of what it does for, financial intermediation, financial inclusion, but I would not support Bitcoin as a money-making venture. In fact, central banks should not support businesses that are not grounded in production.
Well, it's not so much supporting. Can't they just leave it alone? I mean, basically, that's what people are asking. Just leave it alone. You don't have to interfere. You don't have to get involved.
Well, isn't it that it is now left alone because it is recognized by the Securities and Exchange Commission? But in the banking system, you cannot transact, but there are other platforms where people are now transacting.
Yeah, there is a point, yeah.
So in a way, it's not, but in some countries, it is banned outright, completely. So I think it's a reasonable middle ground for a central bank to take. Hopefully temporarily until it's able to sort its policies out and determine which way it wants to go.
I don't think you've completely changed my mind, but I'm really impressed with the arguments. It made me think a little bit rather than just, it's a terrible thing. And that's what the media is all about in Nigeria. This is a terrible thing. But you've made the case for us to actually look at it from a slightly different point of view. And also that clarification that it's not an outright ban if the stock exchange still accepts it as an asset class. So basically you just can't put it through the banking system. And actually in that instance, both sides lose. The government is actually losing track of the people doing this because they're not tracking them through the BVN. And the people lose because they can't take it through the banking system. But yeah, no, I'm quite I really enjoyed our conversation, but I want to get to know Dr. Masha. I want to get to know you. So I'm going to give you some rapid fire questions. Are you sitting comfortably?
Well, I hope I am. I'll answer whatever I can and dodge the rest.
Okay. Okay. You can't dodge these ones. They're all interesting. So hang on. Are you ready?
Sure.
What is the one thing you would put on your bucket list? Like the worst happens and you say, I must do this before I go. Yeah. What is it?
I must be a grandmother before I go.
Oh, there's pressure. There's pressure on these children. I think your boys are listening and they're going to be, oh my goodness. Okay. That's a good one. So what is the one thing you have to do before leaving the house in the morning?
Well, in a post-COVID world, is there such a thing as leaving the house in the morning?
It's true. No. This is the COVID world. We're thinking of post-COVID.
Yeah, we're still in the COVID world. I cannot say I have any particular ritual. I just first thing in the morning is just catch up with the news and developments around the world before my day gets started. So that will qualify as the first thing. Yeah.
So you put your finger on what's happening, you feel the pulse of the world, and then you go out and say, I'm ready. Yeah. Okay. Now, who do you admire most? Who do you admire the most in the whole world? Name one person.
In the whole world?
In the whole wide world, yes.
Wow. Can't think of someone, really.
Well, do you know, I'm just glad you're not saying it's Obama, it's Nelson Mandela, just something. If you can't think of anything, that's a pass. That's fine. Now, if you could have one flavor of ice cream, what would it be?
Oh, it has to be caramel. I'll do anything for caramel.
I was expecting vanilla, chocolate. I must try caramel. It's not something I've tried before. So you've had some amazing jobs and you're in a fantastic place at the moment. But if there is one dream job that you still want to do, what would it be?
Well, I cannot say there is a specific job, but I would like to be in a position where my work makes a difference in the lives of people. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're doing that now, but you want something more immediate rather than more policy.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that my dream job at any point in time is conditioned by that goal that I want to make a difference. Yeah.
You are making a great difference now. I know that. Now, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go? Post-COVID?
Post-COVID.
Where would you go? The one place if you had...
You mean a place I haven't been before?
Yeah, it could be somewhere you've been before. It could be somewhere you haven't been before. But where would you ideally like to go? Just visit.
Usually, I enjoy historical sites, mostly Roman and medieval period sites. So, and I've been to many of those places. Some of them as historical tours, but there's still a few places in
on your bucket list.
On my bucket list, yes, I'll put it that way, on my bucket list. Mostly around Turkey and Greece. There's still a few of those medieval sites that I would still like to go to.
Okay, now this is slightly different. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
It will have to be Lagos.
Oh, there's a woman after my heart. There is something about Lagos. It's just got that X factor. Well done.
Yes.
So are you a morning person or a night owl?
More of a night owl. I think my brain works way, way better after 5.
So we shouldn't be calling you at 6 or 5 in the morning. Don't go there. Okay. Now, what really gets your goat? What annoys you the most? What is the one thing that's guaranteed to get you cross?
That's a difficult question to answer because I don't usually get cross, but I do get irritated. And that's usually by pretensions or affectations of character. Yeah.
People posing, eh?
Yeah. Okay. That's what you choose to call it.
As the Nigerian way of putting it. Yes. Okay. Now, I know this is probably not going to happen to you, but if you had the last 100,000 naira, what would you do with it? Your very last 100,000 naira, what would you do with it?
My very last 100,000 naira. Last in what sense? In the sense of end life, or last in I have no other money
You
left.
have no other money left in the world. 100,000.
I have no other money
No
left
other
in
money.
the world.
What would you spend that 100 grand on?
I'll find a way to double it.
There goes the economist, I tell you. Okay. Now, what are you reading at the moment? What are you reading?
So I'm reading 2 or 3 books about the same time.
Okay.
Okay. There's a book that just came out, the Climate Challenge. Bill Gates came out, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. That's the major one that I've been spending more time with in the past few days. But I do have books on economics.
2 or 3 on the go at the same time.
Yeah, like I'm reading something now about money, about central banks creating fiat money. You know, I'm an old school economist, so I'm trying to see whether I can buy or agree with them. Those who are in that particular end of the spectrum in economics. So that's also something I'm looking at.
I think we can get into that conversation another time, because there's a whole load I want to get off my chest on that one. Okay, so what's on your Spotify playlist or your iPod, or what's your current favorite song that your neighbor hates you for playing all the time?
I don't have any favorite song. I just listen to jazz and very basic music that will not interfere with my thought process. So these are the kind of music you play.
So you'll have it in the background.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, are you watching anything on Netflix or DSTV at the moment? Are you into Bridgerton?
Yeah. So I am going to get to that, but I'm a fan of period drama.
Aha.
So I'm a fan of period drama. So I do watch quite a bit of all those Downton Abbey and the likes, but I haven't got into Bridgerton yet.
Don't start Bridgerton, because you're going to waste 3 or 4 days just binging. Don't start if you don't want to finish. If you don't want to lose like a week of your life that you'll never get back, don't start. Okay. Now, can you describe yourself in 3 words?
In 3 words?
In 3 words, yes.
I've never had to think of that.
Aha.
3 words, authentic.
Excellent.
I'm trying to be modest, so
no, don't. Please don't be modest. It's only me. Modesty never works. So you live in the US. They don't do modesty in the US.
Some words are coming to my head, but
please say it. Please say it quickly. Yes, before you change your mind. This is rapid fire, so you have to be rapid. Whatever comes to your head, quickly. Authentic.
So I'm authentic. I'm caring. I'm fun to be with.
Excellent. Well done. That wasn't so hard, was it?
No.
Okay. Now, what is the one thing you wish you had never bought? I mean, I could talk about some terrible clothes that I wish I'd never bought, but what is the one thing that you were so cross about buying that you said, why did I do that?
I guess once in a while you think of, I shouldn't have, maybe I shouldn't have bought that ticket. I didn't need to go to that place.
Yeah. That's my money gone down the Swanee.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I feel you. I feel you. Okay. Now you've been an absolute star. Can I impose on you one last time? This will be our very last question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know one joke you can tell me? Your one joke.
One joke.
One joke. I promise I'll laugh.
One joke.
One joke. Yes.
Wow, you should have prepared me
I
for
should have
this.
prepared you for that joke. Should I spare you on the joke?
Spare me, please.
Spare you.
Spare me.
Okay. Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed learning about you, but also learning about crypto because you broke it down in such a way that it was accessible, and you also put a point of view across that I don't think the mainstream media or even Twitter hasn't really brought to the fore in Nigeria. So thank you so much. And we hope we get to speak to you again, but I know all our listeners will be terribly thrilled to have listened to you today. Thank you, Dr. Masha.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your making this move. And I do hope that whoever listens to this would have found something useful or learned something new in the process. Thank you very much.
They definitely will. And listeners, please go and subscribe to our podcast. Every month, you'll have something fascinating in the world of business. Banana Island Living. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.